All right, family, happy Sunday. We are so glad that you are hanging out with us today. Coffee and Candid Convo is live, and we are ready to go this Sunday morning. We have been experiencing so much throughout this year, throughout this past year. Can you believe, John? Of course, the world famous Abrahams, our co-hosts, are hanging out with us today. We sure want Abraham today, but Big John Abraham is hanging out with us today. Um, of course, as always, my lovely wife, Miss Grice, who makes everything beautiful, is hanging out with us today. We celebrating Women's History Month.
Yes,
indeed. Yes, indeed.
We are celebrating live all month long. We've got some female entrepreneurs that are coming your way this month. We're going to be talking about balancing motherhood, family, and business.
And not just on Sundays, during the week as well.
Yeah, during the week, we got a whole bunch of guests coming up as we celebrate women and their contributions to our society, to our lives. And so we're excited you're hanging out with us. Do me a favor, whether you are on Facebook, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on YouTube, hit those likes, hit those shares, hit those hearts. Send us some stars. I didn't know we could start sending stars now, John. We can start sending stars.
It was a star.
I don't know. I was watching Fred Price's funeral yesterday, and people were sending stars. I was gonna send a star, then it said, "Oh, that star was $5.99." I said, "Okay, I'm not sending no more stars. I'm not sending no stars." So I didn't send no. But if you want to send me some stars, hook us up. Send us some stars. But do me a favor, y'all, as you're coming in, hit those hearts, hit those likes, hit that share button. Share it wherever you are on your social media platforms, as we are diving deep into conversation today. Coffee and Candid Convo. And we are so excited today. We've got the Vice President and Dean of the college at Lincoln University, Dr. Lenetta Lee, is hanging out with us today. As a matter of fact, let's bring her on now, Dr. Lee. All right, Dr. Lee. What's going on?
Good morning.
What a pleasure.
I'm so glad you're hanging out with us, Dr. Lee. So glad. And you are absolutely fly. I don't know if y'all see the flyness that is coming through the screen. Past the top. It is so fly.
Thank you.
But Dr. Lee, to be honest, when we were planning out this year, we were planning out our schedule as we were thinking about Women's History Month. You were the first name that popped into my head as living history, who lives and leaves legacy, has left legacy on all of us at Lincoln University. And so I'm so glad and so honored that you would hang out with us today on the Coffee and Candid Convo podcast. So, Dr. Lee, let's just hop right into it. You are an author, you are a professor, you are a CEO, you are a mother. You are a mother. You got a whole bunch of kids, not just one. You got a whole bunch of us, right? And so I want to hop right into it. Dr. Lee has a book called My Other Seven Mothers. Dr. Lee, talk to us about your book, about the other seven mothers, My Other Seven Mothers, where it came from, where it inspired you, what are you pushing at in this book?
So the story was always in me, and I would constantly tell the story. And so when the charter school closed and I began to take care of my mother, she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And, I'm constantly saying, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And she said, Lenetta, tell the story, get the story on paper. And so I began to write and uncovered a whole lot about myself in that journey. And so I highlight 7 women who touched my life. I believe it's all about the journey. They taught me how to be fearless at a very young age. And it was the path and me going to visit them and spend time with them. But it wasn't until later that I realized what they did. because it kept coming up inside me. And so when I would face something good, bad, and different, it was their voices that I would hear.
Wow.
So it was very spiritual. And what's interesting is, so my mother and my grandmother are included in the 7, could not exclude them. All of them are deceased now, but 2.
Okay.
Ella Forbes and Sheila Sawyer. Sheila Sawyer is a Lincoln alum, and Ella, and you all may remember Ella, unless it was before your time, she worked in special collections at Lincoln University.
Okay.
And it was just me going to visit them, telling them stories, and asking them lots of questions, and them just taking time with me to say, hey, Lenetta this, or hey, Lenetta that. But it wasn't until later that I realized the impact.
Yeah, sometimes it's true that we don't see. Sometimes you don't know the value or appreciate who deposited things in you until you get into those pressure moments in your life, and it is those voices, right, that continue to guide us through. I remember when I was at Lincoln. I'm gonna say when I was at Lincoln, I was a religion major. I had taken a few education courses. And Dr. Lee was like, no, you're going to make this a major. You're going to finish this degree all the way out. You're going to join this department. But to be honest, if I wouldn't heeded those words of wisdom, if I wouldn't have stuck it all the way out to get the certifications that I needed, I wouldn't be able to provide for my family at the level that I'm able to provide for my family at this point in my life. If I wouldn't have followed and heeded that voice and stuck it out with that voice in my ear the days that I wanted to throw in the towel, right? I wanted to give up and cave in. But your voice continued to stay strong, and I think that's what Lincoln provided for us. It provided that nurture, it provided that care, it provided that environment that helped us critically think, and then it put a expectation for greatness, right? I couldn't settle for anything less. I still can't settle. Even days I want to settle, I still can't settle for anything less because of those voices. Now, you mentioned a little bit about the charter school, and y'all jump in. Don't let me talk, because I'll talk the whole day. I'm just hyped. Dr. Lee's hanging out today. You talked a little bit about. Go ahead, John.
My quick Dr. Lee story, real quick.
Okay.
And Doc, if you even remember this, it was my sophomore year, and I realized that I didn't really want to be a business major. You know, you go into college and it's business, chasing the money, and I made the decision to switch over to health and phys ed, and I was leaving out of the education department, realizing how much more work I had to do because I kind of wasted a year, and my head was just down in the ground. And he was like, "Young man, look at your shirt. You're a Lincoln man. Hold your head up." And it was like, it just touched me deep, and I knew I was in the right place in the education department, you know. And every now and again, I think back to that day, and you know, the kind of the feelings and emotions that I was battling, and having someone who didn't know me from anywhere. You know, I hadn't had a chance to do any of your classes yet, and you took the time to give me that little bit of inspiration. What I come to learn is that's just who you are. It exudes out of you when you walk around. You get those little pop shots of Dr. Lee all the time. I find myself appreciating that.
It's about the whole person, right? It's about the whole child. And Corey, going back to what you were saying, I thought about critical thinking, but something that we don't do. See, I'm real simplistic, right? It's about listening. That's the answer. We gotta listen, and that's what COVID has caused us to do. Yes. If you're paying attention, it's caused us to stop, pause, be still, and listen. So folks are saying, how are you surviving? I said, this is my lifestyle. This is my lifestyle, right? And everything comes with a message. And I learned at a very early age to stop and to listen and to hear, right? So that you know what the next steps are.
Can I ask you a question? When you started your charter school, I know you got a lot of opposition. It was outside of the box for an African American woman to start a charter school in that area, and you took a risk. You stepped all the way out there. You pressed past your fears. What did that journey do for you, and why jump out there at that time in your life?
So it started for me at a very early age, and I want young people to understand this. And so I struggled. I was frail, I was sickly, and didn't quite know my strength or my strengths, right? And so spent many days trying to figure out, because I was too little to climb trees. I couldn't shoot marbles. You know, I had a hard time. You know, we would have apple fights, and we would climb the trees, and we would get I had to gather my apples from the ground, right? And so I was sort of trying to figure out, you know, who is Lenetta? Like, what is your talent? You know, I can't sing, I can't dance. I'm just keeping it real. And but I just waited, right? And what I uncovered is that young people would come to me, and that I had a way with young people, and I felt like they would listen. And so I started saying, I'm gonna be a teacher. And then after I said I was gonna be a teacher, I said, I'm gonna have my own school.
Wow.
I'm gonna have my own school. And then when I gave birth to my son, I decided he was my project, right? And so I passed all my notes on to friends and family, and I said, I'm not going to do the school. This is my school right here. And, you know, I was used to getting the A, you know, doing the project, getting the A, and it was done. But every time I walked into his room, I would shake my head and I'd say, he's not going anywhere. This A is for a lifetime.
That's right.
This is a lifetime project. And folks forget that too. Parenting is for a lifetime, right? And so, but I had a dream. And it was shortly after the young man who I named the school after, he was murdered in Lower Marion by the police.
Wow.
And shortly after he was murdered, I had a dream. And Aaron was talking to me in the dream. And see, this is about belief too, right? And faith. You have to believe, and you have to have faith. And so I called his parents, and I said, Aaron came to me in a dream. And you can't be afraid. That sounds crazy, right? But you can't be afraid.
Wow.
And I told them, and I said, but I don't think the message was for you. I think the message was for me. And I'm trying to figure it out. And they said, okay. And they were very supportive. And then I realized he wanted me to start the school. But it wasn't until I was sitting at his funeral that I said to myself, it's the school. You want me to do the school. I ran home after the funeral and began writing the charter.
Wow.
And what I like to say is that I started a school on grace because I had no money. And I know God was all in it. Because I don't know, honest, I don't know how I did that. I don't know how I did it. But what's interesting about life is that the school closed in 2010. And I don't understand, why did the school close? God, you had me open this school. Why is it closing? And you know, you never want to question God, but I think in some levels it's okay.
Yeah.
But I just kept saying to myself, why is the school closing? And again, I had to sit and wait and listen, right, for the answer.
Wow. You said so much that, but it's true that there are too many. There's so many of us who wrestle with, how do I move forward? Right. I have this dream. I have this vision. I feel like I know what I want to do. And unfortunately, in our culture, we don't leave endowments and things for our kids. We don't leave inheritance for our kids like other cultures do. And so for most of us, we got to start from scratch.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, in this culture, for a woman, sometimes it's even harder.
Yeah.
To get those contacts, to be able to pull in those resources, and to press past all of the chauvinism.
Let's keep it real.
The chauvinism that continues to try to push women backwards. But the truth is, you all are women are the leading financial force in this world. Okay.
But they don't want to talk about it.
They don't want to talk about that. But women are leading in every industry. Women have broken every glass ceiling possible at this point. And I don't want to keep dominating the conversation, but I want to ask this, because you are AKA, aren't you?
Correct.
What does it mean to you to see Kamala Harris, a HBCU grad and an AKA, sitting in one of the highest offices in the land? What does that do for you at this point in your life?
Wow. So you hit the nail on the head a few minutes ago when you start talking about capital and what we leave our children, and not just legacy, but also finances, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, Vice President Harris, and so super proud, but we have to build on it. We can't be satisfied, right?
Yes.
We can't. So we have to look at Kamala and say, what am I doing for my people? What am I doing? What am I doing at Lincoln University? What am I doing in Oxford, Pennsylvania? What am I doing in Chester, Westchester? What am I doing? And what will my legacy be? So that's how we have to view everything, right? What will I leave for the younger generation? So this is great. But what is the message now? We get satisfied sometimes.
Yes. Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
We can't be satisfied. That's just a stepping stone. We have to build on her success.
Yeah.
And continue the legacy. We have to vote in all elections.
Every one of them.
All elections to make a difference. And so, you know, I'll be quite honest. I'm tired of hearing about the first. It's 2021, and it is up to us to move that needle.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we become satisfied, and we can't. We have to build in our own communities. So let that empower us to a point where we build.
I think one of the, I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is when someone pushes through and breaks a ceiling and becomes the first of anything, or gets us in the door. Everybody makes the mistake of, what did they do? And it's always on, they didn't do this or they didn't do that. And you put the blame on them when it's only so much every person can do. And it's not about just them.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, like let's use Obama as example. Everybody always say he didn't do this, he didn't do this. You know, everybody was excited when he got there, but what did you do? You know, yes, people voted for him to get in, but then they stopped there instead of voting in the next election or even in your own community of what can you do to make it better. I don't care if it's go outside and clean out on your block just to get everybody outside. We have to start somewhere, and I think that's where we make the biggest mistake is we look at them to make all the changes and nobody makes the changes at the smaller levels. We have to start somewhere and not think it's just one person. It's collective.
It's collective. Thank you, sis. It's collective. And you have to put in the work. You have to put in the work. That's the bottom line, Corey. You have to put in the work.
Yeah.
I ain't even gonna lie. I'm probably I'm a few steps away from this dissertation being completed, but the work is wearing me out, dog. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Call me, man. I'm here. Call me at 2 a.m. Call me at 4 a.m. Keep your notepad. You know I gotta answer, bro. Keep your notepad by your bed. Call me. That's what we're all here for. And don't wear your wife out. Call us, because she got other things she has to take care of. And guess what? You stopped listening to her. Otherwise, you would have had it done. Because I know what a woman can do. Don't play with me this morning. I've been down that road. Yeah. I've had to call the wife, Dr. Faison. You know Dr. Faison?
Oh yeah, I know Dr. Faison. Yeah.
I had to step in, help him with his dissertation. I would consult with the wife. She would say blah blah, but he'd stop listening to her.
Wow.
And he'll tell you the story. I got him to the finish line, but he had stopped listening to her. So I would call her. She would put it in my ear, and I would call him. We got it done.
Because they always
that's what women do.
Because they always listen to somebody else. We can tell them the same thing. They don't listen to us.
I was telling him the same thing. So call me, Corey. We got you. You'll finish.
Dr. Faison did not tell me you was the key ingredient that got him over the finish line. So I need a little bit of Dr. Lee sprinkled in my journey, okay? God, Louise, I'm gonna be with you, okay? I promise.
Speaking of key ingredients, Doc, I wanted to ask you about the Student Success Program at Lincoln.
Yeah.
The how or do you think things have changed over the years? I know we came out 02 and 03, me and Corey. Being I'm middle school, high school, are our kids still in the same need of what it took to be successful back then? Or is there like a shift? Are there some added things that our students need coming out of high school now to be successful?
Good question.
Well, very good question. So Lincoln has changed tremendously. And we have begun to tell the contemporary story. Because young folks are different now. They are the superstars. So we grew up, with pictures of Michael Jackson, and I had the Silvers, and my mother on my Diana Ross, right?
Yeah.
They have their own pictures on their walls. they are their own heroes, right?
Yes.
And so they don't want to hear about Langston Hughes. They really don't. No disrespect. Yeah. They don't want to hear about Thurgood Marshall. They don't. They want to hear about themselves. And so as thought leaders and educators and practitioners, we've had to shift, right? And we will begin to tell the contemporary story. And just like you will have me here talking today, I'm going to have you come to Lincoln because you are the contemporary story. Corey, you're doing great things. You and your family, you have your wife by your side. You have your children, you have your church, you have the community. That's a contemporary story.
Yeah.
The Abrahams, Jonathan, you're getting ready to be a principal You are impacting lives and have been impacting lives since 2002 and 2003. You are the contemporary story. And so our Gen Zers and our millennials, they're different. And so we've restructured Lincoln University to meet the needs of our Gen Zers and our millennials. And so what did we do? We're no longer student affairs. We don't just provide services. We are student success. And every day I say to my team, how are we impacting students? What is the percentage of persistence? How are we, what is our retention rate? They're sick of me. What is our retention rate? Because, and these young people, even though they don't always want to listen, they're listening. And we have to find ways to reach them. We have to go where they are. Instagram. They're not so much on Facebook, but they love Instagram. They love Instagram Live. And what I found that works, again, I'm simplistic. I'm just all in their face. I go to their parties. I'm out on the yard. I go to the cafeteria. And so I'm visible. And I think that's what these young people need. They need you to be visible.
Yeah.
And I tell young people all the time, and I say this to my son, the young person who's going to win out and be successful, that's the young person who is listening to his or her parents, preacher, teacher, principal, because you can't do it alone. You have to be listening to somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think about the amazing voices that we had at Lincoln while we were there, along with you. All of our teachers, all of our professors, the presidents, the leadership. I mean, those voices, I swear they are still speaking to me today as I'm pressing in. And I appreciate the opportunity. I got a chance. I think it was last year when we was in person. I got a chance to come do a little orientation for the groups that were there. And you're right, that generation, the first thing they were asking me was not what was your time like at Lincoln. They want to know, what are you doing now? How much money are you making right now, Mr. Grice? That's number one. Number two, what is it that you're doing to make an inroad in the community? And they wouldn't even begin to listen until I started to explain some of the work that I was doing, how my education at Lincoln translated into life and leading. And that's what this generation needs, right? They want to know, all right, I need to know how A is going to connect to B and how B is going to connect to C. I saw what it did back then, but what is it doing now? And I appreciate places like Lincoln. My homeboy Damian Price is on here. He said this must be a Lincoln show today. Yes, that's right. LU all the way, baby. Okay, we shout out LU all day, baby. But it's unique places, holy ground like Lincoln, that creates the community that you need and the fellowship that we need and the relationships that we need that push us and still continue to support us to this day. Yes. There is not a city that I don't go into, whether it's education, business, ministry, that I don't find somebody who's connected to my HBCU.
Yeah, that's correct.
Who's a part of that village. Kia, you said something interesting. And I want before we ask Dr. Leah another question. Before we press further in the interview, as much as individuals and particularly women, as much as I've seen individuals celebrate President Harris's election into office, I've seen more criticism from women in particular around her leadership, things that she might have done to her past. I just want to know why do we keep tearing ourselves down? Why is this competition amongst, and it might be the wrong question, why is this competition amongst our women so strong? And how do we get past that? How do we move past that?
Corey, we have to heal. We have to heal. And so in many ways we are broken. We're sad. We have mental health issues. And we can we wake up in the morning, you have a choice. You can be positive or you can be negative. And it's as simple as that for me. Right? And some folks just want to be negative.
Wow.
And in some cases they can't help themselves, because they have not healed. And so we have to heal as a community, and we have to teach. And I think on some levels it's okay to have a healthy conversation about what we don't like, what we've seen in the past, because that's healthy, right? That's healthy and that's healing.
Yeah.
But some of this too, we have to keep in house because other folks don't do that. Other cultures don't do that. Am I right?
And you're right about.
But it's also about getting attention. This need for attention, right? And so it's all about healing. I think I've given you about 10 sermons now.
You preach it, you preach it all day, okay?
And taking notes, Doc.
For those who are watching and those who are viewing, if you didn't get a word today, the Reverend Dr. Lenetta Lee is saying amen. Morning, okay? But you're right. We got to heal, and we got to heal from so much, right? We've got to heal so much from the neglect. We've got to heal so much from the pain, whether that pain be from our family, whether that pain be self-inflicted. We got to stay on that journey. And I think that's what I heard. That's what I'm hearing in your story. Each of these steps that you took, from the writing to your charter school and even your leadership now, you've gone from experience and healing yourself to now contributing to the healing in other people's lives.
Absolutely. And with that healing, we teach our children how to heal. And that's where it starts. And so when they're faced with anything at all, they can face it, or they can come back and say, help me face it. And that's really where it begins. I'm not perfect. I don't wake up every morning with a smile on my face. I've had trauma, but you seek help and you heal, and relationships break us. And then we go into the next relationship broken.
Yeah.
Right. And it causes all kinds of problems in our relationships with our parents, with our significant others. And so for me, it's all about healing and passing that down to our children.
Yeah. You said it's a choice we make every day we get up, whether we're going to be positive or negative. And that is so very true. It's times at work, I have some patients that come in and say, you are so pleasant. Most people are mean. And they're like, well, why are you so pleasant? And I look at them and say, it takes too much energy for me to just be mean, walk around with an attitude all day long. It's freeing to be nice and to be pleasant to other people, because when I give you that pleasantry, when you walk in and I'm nice and smiling, even though I have a mask on, it's something about a smile. You can still see that beyond the mask. Yeah. And I said, and it makes other people smile. Yes, because it's times that people come in and you can kind of tell either they're having a bad day, or, it may be a diagnosis that they got and they're coming into our office. But I'm smiling and I'm greeting them with a pleasant attitude. And you can tell the countenance changes on their face, where, it brightens up their mood. And maybe at that moment, they don't feel like whatever they're going through is just as bad. And if we all could be like that, It'd be a whole lot further. Oh, absolutely.
And then you have to, and this is what I do, you have to have a process. So when you wake up and you're out of sorts, you need there should be a process within yourself because life is affecting us. We have parents, we have a spouse, so our children, right? COVID. And so you need a process within yourself, whether that's to meditate, to pray, to lean in. Corey, thank you so much. I've been listening. So you have, stop and read the Bible, read your favorite book. We've stopped reading. We need to be reading and writing every day, but we need a process. So when I'm in a certain mood, I'll just remove myself, right? And I'll just go and I'll sit still until I figure it out. And because I don't want to offend anyone, I certainly don't want to be mean and evil. And then I work myself out of it, right? And we got to get back to all of this to be successful as a people.
Yeah.
Doc, you said something right there, that grounding and that self-awareness is something that has eluded us in this generation, right? We are so, we can be so critical of others in this cancel culture, right? We can be so, not just critical of others, but critical of ourselves, that we don't take that time to ground ourselves. I have a process of grounding that I stick to, because if I don't stick to that grounding, and mine is called what do I call it? I forgot what it's called. It's like a grounding process, but it's called being present, right? Bringing myself to this present moment, because my fears attack me every day, and I hope y'all are listening to this. Our fears attack us every day. Our past attacks us every day. Guilt will try to ride up on your shoulders every day. Shame will try to ride up on your shoulders every day. No matter what's going on in your life, something will always do its best to try to pull you back into the person that you used to be. But you have to find that space and that process that you commit to, not for your kids, not for your spouse, that you commit to for yourself, so that, as you said, you can be the best person you can be. You don't want to offend anybody. You want to be a contributor to whatever environment that you find yourself in. Alicia, she shouted out, she said, as women, we have to heal from internalized sexism and misogyny. We have to empower versus disparage women. Alicia, you so on it. It's so true.
Absolutely.
That's my wife, Doc. She's not feeling well today, but she's still tuned in.
Yes.
There it is. She put it up there. It's called
mindfulness.
That's my therapy term. That's why she's my co-host right there. It's my mindfulness, baby.
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness in COVID. In education, there's been such a huge trend or moving over to dealing with, you mentioned the whole child earlier, dealing with the social emotional learning, especially throughout COVID. Do you think when we start to come out of this that'll stick and we really get more funding and more programming so that we can better deal with the whole child and produce better students?
Yeah, we have a long road ahead of us in terms of these young people who have been experiencing COVID. Think about it. They have not been in school since this time last year, right?
Yep.
And even
right on anniversary. Yep.
No, we on the anniversary.
Yeah, we on the anniversary. Yep.
And so we have some work to do. Now, what's interesting for me here at Lincoln University, and I was telling Dr. Allen, and I don't know if it's because the students were home with their parents, but when we brought in the class last fall, we brought in 600 students. We were committed to bringing in the freshman class so that they could bond as a class. That whole belongingness is key, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so we brought in as many new students who wanted to come to campus. And there were about 400 of them who came to campus. But what was fascinating for me is that for the first time in a while, I heard students using their manners. Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
No, thank you. And so, and I'm an observer, right? I like to sit still and just sort of watch and listen. I said, I'm wondering if this is because they had to sort of reset, be at home for more hours than they were used to. And I mean, I don't know. I'd have to do some research, but it was profound to me that all of a sudden this class had manners. Because, you know, students, they don't like to say thank you and please anymore. It's just expected. and they're not thankful. It's just they don't do it.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of work to do because they have not been in the classroom. It's sort of like the 5 or 6 year old when they start preschool and then kindergarten, you have to teach them how to be in school. And so what we did for the class that arrived in fall, we started having workshops over the summer. So we were proactive.
Like it. Love it.
And we did critical thinking. We did problem solving. We showed them how to use their textbooks. We introduced them to the syllabus.
Wow.
Right? Because they had not been in school since March.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you as the principal,
things we take for granted.
yeah, you're going to have to rethink and relearn so that you could teach to the student, the whole student.
Yeah.
You know what I haven't heard anyone talk about is therapy for students on all levels. Because you have to think, yes, this has changed for everyone globally. It has changed the way we live. And students, it's more of an impact on them than most people even realize. One, you're grieving because they're not in school. They're not seeing their friends. They're not being with those supportive teachers. Some of them, the only support they have is their teachers.
Yeah.
And not to mention, that may not be the only loss. They may have lost someone due to COVID, or it may not have anything to do with COVID, but someone has passed and they don't have that thing to take their schooling to take that focus off at least for a few hours a day. Because if they're at home and someone is planning a funeral, or people are still may not be sitting in your home, but just stopping by for a quick second or just to drop something off, it's a constant reminder of what you're going through instead of that break. You know, where is the therapy for these kids just from, you know, pre-K all the way up through college? You know, they just trying to process so much. It's a lot for us to process. You know, where is that emotional help for, support for them? And no one is talking about it.
No, you're exactly right. You're spot on. And that's why we have to be healthy adults, right? So that we can see that our child, you know, my own child, or even my son's friends are not healthy, right? Because remember, back in the day, if you went down the street, you weren't supposed to be down the street because you were supposed to be home doing your homework. You not only got a butt whooping from the lady down the street, but when you got home, you got a butt because the lady down the street would call your mother and tell her, hey, Lenetta was down the street at 3:30, and I know she's supposed to do her homework till 4. And we've lost that, right? Corey,
yes.
lost that?
We have.
Because now it's, don't you tell my child what to do.
Yeah.
And we got to get back to that. So you're absolutely right. We need counselors in these schools. We need social workers. We need case managers. We have all of that here at Lincoln University under my supervision. In fact, we just partnered with an organization, and we're going to have teletherapy for the students who are not on campus. We currently have 500 students on campus. We allowed anyone who wanted to come back to come back. And,
that's incredible.
And we tested everyone. We tested our athletes. We have now sealed the den, which happened yesterday.
Okay.
And what that means is no one else can come or go, so that we are all safe. And but we are still providing services for those students virtually. And you're absolutely correct. We have to have counselors ready to have conversations with our students.
Absolutely.
John, I know you want to jump in. I want to ask Dr. Lee. One of our viewers put a comment in. You know, because of this COVID and because of all of the social ills that we've been seeing after a lot of the police killings, we've seen a big influx into HBCUs. A lot of the athletes have left their traditional schools. A lot of students have left their traditional schools. How has that impacted Lincoln University? If it's impacted you all at all, and what do you say? What is that? What do you think that's speaking to, that we're seeing individuals now return back to HBCUs?
Yeah, so there's this resurgence around everything that you just spoke about, and it's a good thing for all of us. We have to make certain that the schools are ready and that the schools are prepared in a different way. And you know, I can't emphasize enough the contemporary story, because these young people want contemporary stories.
Yeah.
And so it's just like when you bring in 700 students, but you don't have enough faculty, right? And so we have to be ready for this resurgence across the board. I need resources. Faculty needs resources. And see, when you have a great leader like we have at Lincoln University right now, she talks about this every day. She talks about this every day, right? And the whole goal is to wrap services around our students so that they are successful. And so to speak to your point, do we bring in 700 or do we bring in a great 400, knowing that our capacity can only hold 400? Because we're only doing a disservice if we're not mindful. You see what I'm saying? So we can take the 700, but are we prepared to take the 700? And that's where my mind goes, because I want to be able to provide services that I know that I can provide. So what do? So we take 400, we tell the other 300, hey, this is a good place for you over here. You see what I'm saying? That's what family does, right? Isn't that what we do as a family?
Absolutely. What we do.
That's what we do.
What we do. That's what we do. John?
Doc, I wanted to ask you, you know, because we are in the start of our Women's History Month, if you could give a tip to some of the young sisters out there on just how to be successful in dealing with this. Everywhere we turn, it tends to be male dominated, right? Corey talked about the rise in power. And women are definitely on the rise and taking over, but it can still be a struggle out here. So if you could offer some advice or some encouragement to the young sisters out here who are trying to make it.
So I think for me, I don't believe in male dominance. That's number one. So I'm not putting that in my head.
In your mind, wonderful.
I'm not putting it in my mind, right? Now I'm 58 next week, so I know it exists, but I'm not putting that in my mind, because that's going to make me fearful, and that's going to slow me down. That's what happens with young ladies in terms of science and math. They're constantly told that they can't do it. So we have to turn that around, right? And it goes back to everything that we've said today. We need to listen. We need to sit still. We need to be mindful, and we need to ask questions, and we need to come together as a community and uplift every women and men. Because let me tell you something, when we uplift women, we have to bring along the men, because if we don't bring along the men, we're going to leave them behind, right? And we did this at Lincoln. We brought up the men, but we lost the women. And what I mean by lost is they were all over the place. So we got to bring them up together, right? And so, and we have to be mindful of what we say. And we have to be mindful of what we do, because they are watching. And so, you know, this whole thing about being a role model, it's real whether we want it or not. And so we have to be mindful because they are listening and they are watching us. And so that's what I would say. We have to be careful with the language that we use.
Yep. And you just made me correct my language just now. I'm getting rid of
so let's not talk about male dominance because we know it's there. But let's just talk about how to achieve and how to be great and show them the path, because that's what my 7 other mothers did for me. They showed me a path, right, to be successful. And that's all we have to do. Keep smiling, wake up on the right side of the bed. When we don't, reset, call a friend, right? Yeah. And keep pushing. We just have to keep pushing and be careful, you know, what we say to young people, because guess what? More than any of us sitting here today, the world is theirs.
Yes.
You know, you all competed with each other. Dr. Allen and I talked, because she was here in the 80s, we talked about how we competed with the folks in the classroom, right? And we could sort of look around and say, oh, I can beat him. Right. I can beat her. Right. Now, these young people, it's the world. We have to teach them to compete in the world. And so how do we do that? We go back to those essential skills, Jonathan, that you would be teaching in your school. Critical thinking, problem solving, how to wait, how to listen, how to be present. That's what it's all about now.
Indeed.
You've been hanging out with us, and we so appreciate you, Dr. Lee. You have been preaching all morning long. I hope y'all been listening. KCity Nation, she preaching all morning long. I want to say this, and I think it's necessary. You know, there comes a choice in all of our lives, in this culture that we're living in, where you at times have to choose community or yourself. Choose giving back or amassing great resources for yourself. And it is a choice you have to make if you're going into different avenues, right? If you're going to go into the business world, or if you're going to go into social work, if you're going to go into education, it's a choice that you make, and a choice that you have to find contentment in and not comparison in. And for me and my wife, we've chosen our community. We've chosen that serving children and serving people's needs are going to be our fulfillment. And I have to say, it was the liberal arts education. I'm shouting out LU again. It was the liberal arts education and its emphasis on my African heritage that helped me value community more than money, that helped me value my people more than my big house and my spinning rims and my gold chain hanging down my neck, right? And still every day, I still have to be conscious that, Grace, you made a choice to find value in people, not find value in resources. And I just thank God for the village, you, and all of our other teachers, all of our other professors who pushed that into us week in and week out while we were there.
So when you receive the call, that's what the listening's about, right? So when you receive the call and you listen, you know that it is your duty to stay. I chose to stay. All of my career has been at Lincoln University. I grew up here. I live on the campus now. I teased Dr. Allen. I said, I'm in a gated community. Doesn't get any better than that. Doesn't get any better than that. I have security. And so I'm here, right? Students can come, sit on my lawn, knock on my door. I chose to stay. And that's what the listening is about. Now, not everybody can stay. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah. And so but you do have to give back and give too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I would say. But you hit it, that individualism versus community is powerful. It's powerful.
And I'm praying that we are raising a generation. We have to get rid of what Dion Browning calls hyper individualism, where the only thing that matters is what you think, how you view things, what you can amass as a result of it. When God Himself is community, right? When He started with man, He started with the family. He emphasized, be fruitful, multiply, build that community. And even when we look at the cross, I know I'm preaching, it is vertical God, but it is that horizontal community that connects us to the Father. We can't have one without the other. We can't have one without the other. Doc, we're gonna let you go, but I want to say thank you again for hanging out with us today.
We got a lot of nuggets out of this conversation.
Lord.
Thank you, and so did I. Thank you. What a pleasure.
Promise me you'll come back and hang out with us again.
Oh, absolutely.
We're gonna bring you back before the year is out. We ought to bring a bunch of our Lincoln leaders back just to put them on the map. Especially for all my Cheney fans who are watching. We love you.
We do. We love you.
But Doc,
Jonathan,
we love you.
It's a pleasure to see you. Keep doing what you're doing. I can tell you what works for me here with Lincoln University students. And Corey, it can work in the church, and you probably already do it. But what I find myself doing is just listening to them. And then they sit back and they say, "Oh, she's listening." And I just let them go. I just let them go on, and I let my actions speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Listening is a powerful tool that we've left behind.
Yeah.
You sound like my wife, Doc.
Not a bad thing.
Not at all.
Doc, enjoy this beautiful day. We love you. We appreciate you. Give your neighbors my love. Give Dr. Faison my love.
I will.
Tell him I see him soon. Tell him he still owe me some Lincoln paraphernalia. My address hadn't changed. He owe me some paraphernalia. I need my hoodie and all that. Tell him to send my care package soon. Okay. We
will do that. Thank you for the opportunity. This has been a blessing. And just call me anytime. You know that, Corey. Call me anytime. You know I'll be calling on you as well. I would love for the three of you to come to campus and sit and talk, and we could do a virtual even before that. So
absolutely
wonderful.
Anytime.
So good to see you, Doc.
All right, Doc. Be safe. We'll talk with you soon. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Bye. Yo, it was so great hanging out with Dr. Lee today.
Yeah,
that was on.
Yo, that was so great. K-City Nation, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to buy her book up. It's available. My Other 7 Mothers. I want you to make sure you grab it. I believe it's on Amazon.com. You can Google Dr. Lenetta Lee. Grab up that resource. She is a powerful voice that has been speaking into us, all of us, for years. I don't know how many of us started off in one major and ended up in education. Dr. Lee. And let's not forget to shout out Dr. Drew, who was the head of our education department. We were there. Rest in power, Dr. Drew. He made sure all of us got certified before we walked up out of that joint, didn't he?
He did. God bless him. Miss you, Dr. Drew.
Yeah, miss you, Dr. Drew, man. My man Damien said we need diversity on the panel.
I'm not a Lincoln grad. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
We got all the diversity we need right here. All right, we got all the diversity we need.
We got everybody. We the grandfather of them all, so we represent all the HBCUs.
We'll bring you in next time. Next time we do an HBCU Sunday, we'll make sure some CU fans are up on here. All right, some CU graduates up on here. Listen, K-City, next week we are focusing on women and entrepreneurship. We've got some young entrepreneurs. We got some middle-aged entrepreneurs. We've got some seasoned entrepreneurs that will be coming on. And next week, we're going to be talking all about women and business, and highlighting some businesses of those who we know in our network. And particularly, we have a young student who I believe is 13 years 13, old, yeah. Who is booming in business and just living life to the fullest. We're absolutely going to bring her in next week, and we really want you all to be a part of it. You awesome. All know the links for giving, all the support where you can, honor God where you can, give where you can. But we are just so happy for all those who continue to participate. We'll be back on at 11. We'll be back on at 1 p.m. We'll be back on at 6 p.m. tonight.
Yes.
So come on, hang out and enjoy us. K-City Nation, we love y'all. Now, make sure you have a great day. Enjoy that sun. John, love you, baby. Focusing on women and entrepreneurs on at 6 p.m. tonight.
Yes.
So